Stampers, I'm Lorraine Sish from stampwithlorraine.com. Welcome to another video tutorial. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator in the United States, and I love the Stampin' Up products, and I love sharing new ideas with you on how to use them and how to make great projects. Today I have a really fun Z-fold. That's also a pop-up card, and it's just so adorable. You are just going to want to make a lot of these. And it does seem like a lot of cutting at first. If you look at the measurements, there's a lot of layers, but you can simplify, and I'll tell you how. And it really isn't hard. It isn't hard measurements. It's just turned out to be a lot of fun. So here's one, but you know I'm going to give you some other suggestions on how to switch it up a little bit. So here's your Z-fold, and then there's the pop-up element right there. And you see how that has a little piece inside that helps pop that up. I just love these penguins and these bright DSP colors. So I'm going to show you other ideas to make this pop-up diamond Z-fold card, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you try some of your own. Don't forget to please give me a thumbs up down below and tell me what you like about the video, and that way I can continue to serve you better. So go to my blog, stampwithlorraine.com, sign up for my mailing list, and you will get more ideas and tips and tricks, and stay in touch with Stampin' Up news as well. So thank you again for watching. I do appreciate all of you that follow me and share your projects with me as well. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'd be glad to help you out. So enjoy the tutorial and stay tuned to the very end to see all the ideas. Okay, so we're going to start with our card base. I am using soft sea foam. You start with 8.5 by 5.5, so it's half a sheet of cardstock. You're going to score it down the middle at 4 1/4, like we usually do for a regular card. Might look like this. But then this time we're going to do another score down the middle of the card front at 2 1/8. So 4 1/4 divided in half is 2 1/8. So you will just measure that out using your scoring tool on your trimmer, which is a lighter color slider. Okay, just give a little score line, and then you have that split right in the middle. Okay, with your bone folder, make your creases nice and sharp. And this front is now going to be folded backwards. You see how it makes it just in half, right? All right, so that's going to make our Z. Okay, that's why it's called a Z fold. Okay, so that's our Z fold there. This will be the front. This is the inside. All right, so now next we need some white. Now, I thought to make this a little easier for your cutting, for your measurements, think of your full sheet of cardstock, and because we need 3 pieces that are all the same height, 5 3/8, think about how you're going to cut your cardstock. You'll have less waste, and you will, it'll make cutting a whole lot easier. Fewer cuts than thinking of each one individually. I always like to group them together. So I would cut across here at 5 3/8. And then from there, make my slices to get my 4 1/8, 2 inches, and 2 inches. And then all you're left is with 3/8 scrap over here. If you have a very thin sentiment, you can always use it for that later. Okay, so this would be your first cut. And then you'll cut at 4 1/8. And then cut a 2-inch piece and a 2-inch piece. And a little bit of scrap left. Okay, so that's what I've done over here. I have my 4 1/8, and oops, wrong one. That's for the back. Okay, my 4 1/8 and my 2 inches, and that little scrap. All right, we will not necessarily need this, but put it aside in case you do want to use it. All right, so now I have those 3 pieces, and those pieces are going to go on my card. So I'm going to just quickly glue this onto the inside. It's going to have a teeny tiny border, because then we're going to put some DSP over that. This is the middle layer. So you don't want too big of a border, because then your next piece will be kind of on the small side. So we have a 1/16 of an inch border around everything, because we have a 1/8 measure less than the cardstock area. Does that make sense? If it's 1/8 total, then it's 16 on top and bottom and left to right. So this is going to be the middle layer, like I said, between the cardstock and the DSP. If you want, you can eliminate this step. Not 100% necessary, but it just kind of adds a little bit more to bump up the card a little bit, especially if you're working with a little bit of a darker DSP on here. It gives a nice border to separate that from your card base. Okay, something that breaks up the two designs. All right, so next we have your designer series paper. Now I chose from Splendid Day is the DSP. I have this beautiful, it's foil 12 by 12 sheets, and such beautiful colors. You have like this rose gold. One side is foil, the other side is just flat like your regular DSP, but of course a different design. And so this is what I'm using, the soft sea foam. A silver foil. Look at that, how shiny, right? And then a pink one, a purplish pink actually, right? And then a gold, this goldish silver one. Oh, just so pretty, so gorgeous. I just got this and haven't done a whole lot with it yet, but I just love it. I've seen plenty of gorgeous things with that. All right, so now we're going to glue our DSP pieces onto this. So it is 1/8 smaller than the white. So we get that very thin border around. All right, so the DSP is going to measure 5 1/4 by 4 for the big part. So again, you can cut 5 1/4 length and then cut your pieces to fit side by side. Okay, 4 by 5 1/4. Now this is typically the kind of measurement we use for the layers, but look how that just kind of finishes off so nicely, that teeny tiny border across the top. Okay, and then we're going to put our other piece here. So it might seem like a lot of cutting, but it really is just layering. It is a lot of pieces, but like I said, pretty much just layering. Okay, so I'm going to have to find my other piece there. Oh, there it was. It stuck to my packaging. You know how the flap has little sticky glue on it to hold it closed. I showed you the package, stuck right to the back, picked it up, and went in my file. Okay, so I want my more subtle print to be my background here. And we are orienting vertically, so if your pattern has a definite top and bottom to it, think about that before you cut it. This one can go either way, obviously. But this is just like a pearly, not even like a foil, but it's a real pearly kind of a look to it. Just so pretty. So let me give you the measurements for these. I forgot. These are 4 by 5 1/4. I mentioned that. These are also 5 1/4, just 1 7/8, because it's 1/8 shorter than what the white layer was. Okay, so that makes it easier. The white was 2, now we're at 1 7/8. So for both of these, and they're both 5 1/4 tall. We're going to put it at the side for a minute, and we're going to work on our squares. Now, we're going to layer our squares very similarly to the card base, a white layer, and DSP on top. I chose a contrasting DSP so that it would stand out, and I also chose something that was kind of random, because we are not going to use these as squares. We're going to tilt them on a diagonal and make them diamond shapes. Okay, because so that way, if you have a pattern that has a top and a bottom, then it's going to look like it's sideways. So choose something that's a little bit more random. We're going to have 1 large and 2 small. So our large one is 2 1/4 inches square, one of those, and then 2 at 2-inch squares. Okay, so now we go 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. So our 2 1/4 now becomes 2 1/8, and this one is 1 7/8, which is 1/8 shorter than the 2-inch square that's underneath it. So again, you'll need 2 of those. Then you need your DSP squares. Again, 1/8 smaller than the white layer. And for those, I chose this pattern with that rose gold on there. See how it's a random print? It can go any direction. So it's going to look fine as a diamond shape. Okay, so now this one is going to be 2 inches. Okay, we just need 1 of those. And 2 of them are going to be 1 3/4. All right, so I'll give me a minute, and I'll glue those all together for you. Okay, so they're all glued on now, and I can put those aside for just a second while we work on our next piece. It's a small piece of coordinating cardstock to the base, so soft seafoam, and it is 3 inches wide by 2.5 inches tall. And we are going to hold it horizontally, so it's 3 inches wide, and we're going to score it every 3/4 of an inch. So we have 4 columns that are of equal size. So on your trimmer, just go to 3/4. I've already done this, but 3/4, and then you will go to 1 1/2, and then 2 1/4, and that gives you your 4 little pieces there. All right, then we're going to use the bone folder and score that down. Well, it's been scored. We're going to burnish those score lines. We're going to form a little rectangular column because this is a pop-up card, and this is what's going to be the mechanism to help pop up the card. All right, so this is going to have on the front 2 diamonds here. I'm going to line up the tip of that diamond to the top and the corner of this folded layer, and line up the bottom tip over here as well. Then I'm going to do the same with the next diamond. It's going to overlap a little bit, but that's okay because it doesn't look bad for one thing. And secondly, if you really wanted to, you can take a sentiment and put that across there or some other embellishment if that does bother you. But it's so little, it really is fine. Okay, so obviously when we glue this down, we only want to have adhesive on the left side of the diamond because the back side is open, and if we put adhesive there, it's going to stick to your card back and you will not be able to open your card. So that would not be good. All right, so I'm going to put my adhesive over here. I'm actually going to start a little short of those points because I know the glue will spread, and just to be extra safe. And I'm also going to make sure I open this so that just in case any glue does spread out a little bit, it's not going to get on my card. So I'm going to make sure I open this, and if you want to be super duper safe, you put your silicone mat underneath. I'm not sure where mine is right now, so I'm just going to be extra careful. Okay, the silicone mat is fabulous because if glue gets on it, number one, it will protect your paper so it doesn't get sticky, and secondly, it can rub right off. Once it dries, just rub it and it kind of just peels right off. Okay, so you see how that goes there. So really nice. We're going to do the other one. These are the 2 smaller squares, turning on the diagonal as diamonds. I'm going just a little off the center. Open it up. Don't want any accidents. We all make them though, it's okay. You can work with it. Sometimes your accidents are a way to use your creativity to do something new, right? All right, so now this one is going to go in the middle between those, but it's going to go on this pop-up mechanism. Ooh, it's a tricky word. And so that when you open it, it's going to kind of look like it's floating behind the other one. So really cool. Really cool. So this is what we're going to do. Take your little mechanism here. Now, because this is something that is going to get a lot of work, with the pop-up piece, opening and closing, you do not want your card falling apart. You'll have a gorgeous card and someone's going to play with it once or twice and boom, it's going to fall. So use very strong adhesive. I suggest either Snail Plus or the sticky strip, tear and tape. I used to call it sticky strip. Same thing. The only difference now is that you can tear it. The old sticky strip had a plastic backing and you had to cut it, which you can cut this too, but it's a little easier just to tear it. I'm going to put 2 strips on here because I don't want to be embarrassed if my card falls apart. All right, now we're putting it on the flaps that, so it looks like a gatefold, or if you open it up, it'll be the end 2 rectangles there. Better safe than sorry, right? Okay, let me try that a little bit more. All right, now here's the fun part where it all comes together. And make sure the sticky strip is down nicely, and then the backing comes off. I use my take your pick tool. You can get right under there and pull it up. There we go. Whoops. Jumped right out of my hand. Okay, so you want your sticky strip. Oh, something got on there. Oh, piece of cardstock or something. Okay. Sticky strip is going to go down, and you're going to line up this score line with the center fold of your card. And you're also going to center it between these 2 points. So it makes it easy to align. Just like that. So now, when you fold the card, it's going to make that mechanism right in there. Can you see that? Right here, that's what's going to pop up. So I just like to work the cardstock a little bit, fold my card back down, kind of break down those fibers a little bit so it makes it easier to fold and open. All right, and see how nice and secure that is? I could barely even pull it off if I wanted to. All right, now to attach our bigger triangle or square, we are basically going to center it on here. I just eyeball it. If you want to actually measure it, that's fine. But I think you can pretty much figure out how that's going to go. We're only going to glue it to the left side because otherwise this will not pop up, right? And now you want to be careful to only put some adhesive on this tip. So you don't want to go any farther than that. So if you wanted to, you know this is 3/4. If you wanted to, you could measure 3/4 down and make sure you don't go past that. If you wanted to put a little mark, you can. For some people who want to be extra careful. Okay, so I know that's 3/4, so I don't want to go past that with my glue. You want to go just a little shorter, perhaps. And because this is the only thing that's going to be holding on this floating square or diamond here. So you don't want to be too chintzy, but you don't want to go past that either. Okay, so just lining up the points and sort of equal distance here and here. And then that's going to just pop up right there. Isn't that neat? Like it's just floating there. I love it. And like I said, you can kind of make sure your folds, your creases are good. And then that's what you have there. So now from here, you can add sentiments, and I'll do that in a little bit and show you all the pictures at the end. Add some sentiments. This is an old sentiment and label, but you know, you can imagine putting something there. You can add some other flowers, some other die cuts, whatever. So here is another one that I did with different DSP. This is the Awash and Beauty. See, notice how I used my more subtle paper in the background and then the more decorative one on top. And that is in the Blushing Bride. And again, this was taken into consideration. You would not necessarily want this one. Well, I guess you could make it go diagonally if you wanted to, but a lot of variations on that. And I didn't decorate that one or put the sentiment on yet either. So watch to the end. You'll see that all finished up. Now here's one that I did complete with penguins. I love those penguins. Such a cute set. Penguin Place. It was in the holiday catalog last year and they brought it back. So that was fun. Comes with a punch that cuts out. Get that. Here it is. Penguin Builder punch, they call it. It cuts out the bigger part in the back and the little part for the white in the front, and it even has little feet. Or you can just stamp them. So this you can do it all in punch art, put the pieces together, or you can do it all stamped and punch out the whole thing. Or you can do a little of each, and that's what I did here. I punched out the body in black, well, at least for the top part. Let's just look at that. Punch out the body in black, punched out the white part here, and then I stamped the eyes, the beak, and the feet. So you can mix and match it any way you like. This little guy inside was just stamped. There is no punch for him, and then I just fussy cut around. All right, so then this one I put the little happy birthday on the inside. Notice I strategically placed it so that it wasn't seen when you are looking at the front of the card. To the coolest friend ever, happy birthday. And you will not want to be writing on this part. You have to make sure to either do a little writing over here, just love so-and-so to so-and-so. Or you can take another sheet of white, 4 by 5 1/4, and you can put it on the back and you can do your writing here. So whatever works best for you is all good. All good. Oh, another thing I wanted to remind you of, this little sentiment here, notice they are straight on this stamp set, right? But if it's a photopolymer set like this is, you can actually bend the sentiments. You can curve them. You can make them wavy like I did there. So you can just curve them a little bit on your block, and then you get a little bit different design. Can you see that? Let me do it here. Okay, maybe that's better. See, you can curve it any way you like, or just make an arch. So that's what's fun about the photopolymer. Okay, so stay tuned for another minute and I'll show you all the finished cards.